Good morning, class. Today we will be talking about lighting and lighting instruments. So the lighting techniques and the instruments you use in our studio to light any set is something we will be talking about today. So to begin with, these are our lighting instruments that we have in our studio. The first one is called a Fresnel, Fresnel. And as you see, they have these door-like things. Those are called barn doors. And the best part of Fresnel lights is you can close the barn doors, you can open the barn doors. So if you close them, you can have a more pointed lighting towards your talents, your set. And if you just open the barn doors, you can have more of a diffused flat lighting in the studio. But one bummer is the these Fresnel lights, they don't change colors, so they are always kind of like a white light. But we have gels. So gels are like very thin plastic sheets of very different colors. So you can clip those sheets to the slide and then they will change color according to your will. And the next light, the round one, the half circle one, those are called scoop lights. The best part of scoops is they change color, but they aren't as bright as Fresnels, so you can't use scoop lights as your main light, but it can be a supporting light, and if you change the color, it can help you to create the kind of ambience that you want in your set. The third one is called a cyclite. The cyclites are mostly used to, they change colors, by the way. Very cool thing. So they change colors, but they are mostly used to light the background of your set. The walls, if you have walls in your set, then the walls, the background, anything that isn't in front of the screen is lit by the cyclites, the rectangular cyclites. Okay, the next thing we have in our studios is it's called screens and cookies. So screens are basically a kind of a filter. They help you adjust the intensity of your light. If you want a very bright light, you can get rid of a screen, and if you want a slightly less light, maybe for a night sequence, you can use the screens to have the light a little less intense. The next thing is cookies. Cookies are awesome. So basically the cookies help you to create organic looking shadows. For example, the one you see here, it can give you a sense of, for example, if you have to think about lighting in a forest. Of course, in our studio, we don't have the luxury to have like real trees and make things look like forests. So this is where lighting comes in. You can have these cookies, these patterns, and these pattern shadows will help you to create some kind of an ambience. You can use it for clouds, forests, and they're really helpful in creating a mood of your entire scene. So the next thing we will be talking about is called three-point lighting. And what is three-point lighting? So if we look at this person over here, let's call her our talent. So three-point lighting is basically we have three lights on our talents. Talent is a person who is right in front of your camera. So right now I am the talent in front of camera. And three-point lighting is I have a light from that side, I have a light from this side, and I have a light from the back. So what happens is, if you put a straight bright light on your face, that makes you look unnatural. That isn't how we perceive people. That isn't how we are used to seeing people. So the lights are coming from every side. If it doesn't come, then it looks more dramatic. And it's not that we always want dramatic stuff for our productions. And in our studio, we are more learning more about sitcoms, where it is more or less flat lighting, like the one we have in here. So to start with, three-point lightings are three lights basically. So the first one is called the key light. The key light is the brightest light we have on any talent and any given set. So if we take an example of me sitting in here, that would be my key light over there. And the key light is really bright. So what happens is, if we have the light and then we don't have any other lights, this is exactly what happens. What we see in the first image, the lady here, we have a very dark shadow on the other side of the face. That isn't what we want. So what do we want? We want something to fill in with the key. And that is our fill light. So I have it right in here on this side. which lights this side of my face, but this one is brighter than this one. So this is the brightest light. My key light is the brightest light. Then I have my fill light, which is a little less bright. But what it does is it kills the shadows. So if we see the third image, it kills the shadows. But the next one is the backlight. Why do we need a backlight? Here my background is kind of like gray, I'd say, and I'm wearing a pretty colorful clothes. So that's why I'm kind of a little distinct. I mean, I am a little distant from my background, but you can see it because I'm wearing a very different color, which is a lot more vibrant than my background color. But that isn't going to happen for all of your productions. So, for example, if you have a dark background and your talent is wearing a dark cloth, what happens is it feels like your talent blends in with the background. So we don't have that sense of three-dimensional images. We feel like it's 2D, it's just flat, and the talent is just a part of the background. That isn't something we want. So that's why we have a backlight, something that lights us from the back and makes us different. Basically, it makes our shoulders look brighter so that it differentiates us from the background. If you look at the first image, the lady's shoulder is kind of blended in with the background. If you look at the second image, then we see this light on her shoulder, and that's what our backlight does. Okay, now let's have a bird's eye view of our studio and how it works. So for example, if we have our talent right in the center, and we have our key light, which is the brightest one, from one side, and then we will have our fill light from the other side, and then we have our backlight from the back. And you place the camera right in front of you, exactly where my camera is at this point. And the moment we achieve this kind of lighting, look at the third image, the moment we achieve this kind of lighting, that is called a flat lighting. So where do we use flat lightings? We use flat lightings mostly for sitcoms. Think about the shows like Big Bang Theory, Friends. It's always well lit. So that is what we call is a flat lighting. And this is a good example of flat lighting where you can see the background, you can see the face of your talent, his or her clothes, and this is a good example of flat lighting. The exact opposite to flat lighting is called chiaroscuro lighting. So chiaroscuro lighting is basically where parts of the faces of your talents is shadowed. Why do we use it? So the main reason why we use it is to dramatize the scene and make it look more intense. And there are two more concepts that I will be introducing here is looking at an event versus looking into an event. So the moment we have chiaroscuro lighting, it's more looking into an event. When we have flat lighting, it is looking at an event. So the difference between looking at and into is when we look at an event, we just see what's going on, as in where the person is, what time of the day it is, like this one. Here, it looks like it's day, and the person is in some downtown office building, but we don't know what's happening. He looks, from his expressions, he looks a little excited, happy, maybe, but that's it. And we know if it's inside or outside. That's all we can know from looking at an event. But if we have something like this, which is called chiaroscuro lighting, we are forced, since we can't see everything, we have a lot of shadows, we are forced to look into the event, which means we kind of start unpacking the emotions of our characters or what they are thinking, what might be going on in here. Here we can see a person's face a little bit in here, which is shadowed, so we don't know what's happening, but we see the girl's face and chiaroscuro lighting, so it kind of intensifies the emotions that our characters are feeling. And yeah, that's what you achieve when you have chiaroscuro lighting. So what we learned today, we learned the types of lighting instruments we have. Fresnel, scoop, and cyc lights. The second thing is we learned 3-point lighting, which is 1, 2, and 3 lights. And the last thing we learned here is flat lighting versus chiaroscuro lighting. Flat lighting helps us to look at an event, whereas chiaroscuro lighting helps us to look into an event. Thank you very much.